Here's a little informational video. I saw a question asked of how much power does a 3D printer use? This is my Mendel 90. It's off right now. And there's my little power meter. It's using 0 watts. I think it's on watts. Yes. Ignore the dead ants. We had the termite guy around, and now there's dead ants everywhere. So the power to the printer is on. It's using a standard computer ATX power supply. I can't remember what it is. I think it's a 350 watt Corsair ATX. Power is on, but it's only on standby. The main 12 volt system is not on yet. And in standby it uses 17 watts. Those the lights in there are powered separately. They're not part of that 17 watts. They have their own little transformer. So turn the printer on. So that's the 12 volt system on. This one only has 12. It doesn't have a 24 volt bed. And still only using 7. No, there we go. It kind of jumps around a bit. So I will turn on the heaters. So that's the bed and the nozzle are both on, and it's pulling 172 watts. I don't have anything to print, so I'll just hit home, which will turn the power on to most of the motors at once. The stepper motors don't really use up that much power. And the nozzle and bed are off. Turn the power off. Now it's just in standby mode again. And there is the Franken printer. It's too big to get in frame. Okay, it's not really that big. My camera just doesn't have that much of a wide angle on it. This thing has a 24 volt bed, and it's run by a Raspberry Pi. So that Raspberry Pi will also be in with the power, because once you turn the printer on, the Raspberry Pi powers up with it through some weird stupid thing, so I have to turn it on, otherwise it gets reverse powered through the USB hub and bad juju. So right now the printer is using nothing. That 0.8 of a watt, I suspect, is the light on the power board. Hail to the king, baby. My camera has a light. So Raspberry Pi uses until it stabilizes. It uses about 5 watts. So that thing there, that is plugged into the Raspberry Pi, so that'll be chewing up a little bit of power. And a webcam for filming prints. Yes, I print. No, I don't clean. Can't get my fingers under there. Too hard.
Okay, so on goes the main power for the printer, which is an old Xbox 360 power supply. And that doesn't use very much. So now let's turn the printer on. Printer is going on. So that's the 12 volt system on. That's 12 volts. Now let's turn the 24 volt power supply on. Let's turn the heaters on. Okay, they're on. So this one uses nearly 200 watts with a 24 volt power supply, a 12 volt Xbox 360 power supply, and a Raspberry Pi, and webcam and wireless USB thing. Homing. The stepper motors don't seem to use a lot. Heaters are going off. That's the heaters off. And now the power. So that's just the Xbox power supply now in standby mode. So that is how much power a 3D printer uses for just heating up. I don't have anything to print right now, so I can't do any videos of it while it's in motion, but I don't imagine the stepper motors would create that much demand for power. The motors are not that power hungry. They do not wish to consume the jewels. Om nom nom. And here's a little tip for anybody using a Raspberry Pi to power their printer. These things generally need to be shut down properly. They're a little miniature computer, and if you don't shut them down properly, they tend to have a cry and possibly corrupt the SD card. So you can hook up a switch that when you press it, there's a Python script running on the Pi, and one of the wires is connected to a GPIO port, and when that GPIO port detects the button press, the Python script sends the halt command to Raspbian. You can see the little green activity light. When I press the button, the light flashes, and in a minute, or less than a minute, blink, 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 lights off, nobody's home, you can now safely unplug the Pi, or eat it. Pi is always good for eating. It may also be worth noting that we here run on 240 volts or 250, so whether or not that affects the power reading, I am not an expert. It's also possible this cheap power meter is probably not that accurate. Whatever.